Hello, fellow Supercoaches, and welcome back to Supercoach Edge. Well, we are officially back for all things AFL Supercoach. And boy, we are very, very keen to get the season underway.
We are fucking back! We are back! We are back!
Now, if you have been tuning in across the course of the AFL off-season, you would have seen that we have been producing content for NFL Supercoach and just recently finished BBL Supercoach. So we have not stopped here at Supercoach Edge, and we hope that you have enjoyed all the content that we have been putting out. But here we are. It's happening. We're here for the bread and butter. It is what we're all waiting for, AFL Supercoach. And of course, the team picker has been released. Now, as I record this, I'm hearing whispers that the official game may be opening on Tuesday, the 20th of January. So depending upon when this video will be released, you'll just find out if that is the truth. But let us get down to brass tacks and go through our first iteration of our team. Now, I've seen quite a number of team pickers out there. I've seen people do multiple releases of their team picker, but this is my first for the season. I wanted to get everything out of the way, get the NFL Supercoach out of the way, get the BBL Supercoach out of the way, because now I've wiped the slate clean and I'm concentrating firmly on all things AFL Supercoach. So let's start with defense. Again, if you are tuning in for the first time, you have yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please consider doing so. And hit the notification bell as well to be notified of when our content does drop, because I'm warning you, we have a whole host of content coming your way. We have looking at team previews. We've got with the mid-prices, the primos, the rookies, and every single line, analysing the best prospects to keep an eye on. So if you are keen for our content, please jump on board. Likewise as well, if you are tuning to the audio podcast, just by the by, of course, make sure, I think you can actually follow our podcast. So you can click that, I think through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and again, you'll be notified of when the content does drop. Now, without further ado, let's go through and start with defense. And from the very top, the most expensive player is Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera. No surprise here. The bloke was an absolute gun. Just goes without saying, 115 he averaged for the season. And I think in the back part of the season, geez, he went bananas. Let me just have a look on DFS Australia, just ever so quickly, because I'm keen to see the, I guess, differential between his first part of his season compared to the second half. Of course, he pushed more into the midfield, change in role, allowed him to have a bit of an uptick in scoring, which is always very, very handy. So here you go. You can see here the first half of Wanganeen-Milera's season, 106.2, which is, of course, very, very good. But then to go 124.6 in the second half of the year is insane. In fact, he was the highest scoring player in the second half of the season, ahead of the next best in Max Holmes with 118.1. So I think for me, he is almost an instant selection. Just disregard the price point. And I think at this price point, there still is a bit of a, presenting a bit of an upside here, because as I said, 124 average in the second half of the year compared to the first. It just shows that the ceiling that this bloke has is next level. The only query I have is he could be getting a bit more attention in 2026, and probably no doubt. But I think with the way that he plays, he's very speedy. He can run all day. He'll run his opponents off their feet by and large. And I think his ability to play off defense, but also through the middle, just provides a little bit of an extra string to his bow if he needs to be thrown into a different position to perhaps shed a tag. That is always something that is a bit of a bonus as well. So the Wang, as I like to call him, he is in my defense as my first selected. Alongside him is another player, Connor Rozee, who I think is slightly underpriced. I brought him into my team in the back part of the 2025 season. Right before, I should say, he actually went down with that injury. And I think that's kind of stunted his, what would have been an elevated price point. And we're still getting him, I think, at 568.5k at a bit of a discount here. I think he probably should be pushing closer to the 600k mark. He showed in that change of position off defense that he can really elevate his Supercoach game. So I'm a very, very keen onlooker, but at this stage, buyer of Connor Rozee. Of course, being dual position, mid defender, that's always a bonus as well. Bit of an annoyance that the Wang only has defensive eligibility at the moment, but we do anticipate that he will get the mid defensive DPP included at round 6 when the changes come in. So don't be too discouraged about that. In the third spot in defence, just scrolling down the list here, there are a number of players that you could look at. But I think going to almost top dollar, or obviously top dollar with the Wang, but also with Connor Rosie in the high 500k mark, we're going to have to skimp a little bit here. And I think go for value. And it's kind of what I tend to do strategically in this spot here in the D3 position and even F3 as well, if you can find a bit of value. So just scrolling on down, and this man right here, no real secret. I think there's a lot of people talking about him. Colby McKercher for the Roos, 449.6k. I think he is underpriced for what he can produce. Now, I've got him up on screen here in DFS Australia for good reason, because the first part of his season, he was averaging 62.2. He finished the second part of the year averaging 102.3. And for me, I think he's just based off that alone, pure value. But there is a bit of an asterisk here because it comes down to his role and where he plays. Because if you look at his scoring breakdown for 2025, when he was playing more predominantly off defense, pushing up towards the wing as sort of that high, half back, nice little distributor, he is someone that I think can score quite well, as you can see here on screen if you're watching us on YouTube. And he had, in the second part of the year, from round 10 onwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 scores over 100. And those low scores below 100, he had 63, 60, 96, 58, and a 78. But, geez, if this guy gets the free rein to rebound off defense, does Sheasel potentially push more into the middle in 2026? I probably anticipate that he will, and it will allow McKercher that bit more free rein to play this distributor role off halfback. His disposal is very, very good by and large, McKercher. So I'm very keen on him at that price point. Pure value, that is for sure. Moving on to D4, and there's another guy whose value coming back from injury, surprisingly, priced at 439.3k. I thought it'd actually be a little bit cheaper than this. Obviously, Nick Newman coming off that season-long injury. He is in my defense at D4. Now, with Nick Newman, we are probably quick to forget how valuable he is in Supercoach terms. As a bagger myself, I know how valuable he is in terms of footballing sense, but in 2024, he averaged a 101.5 or 101.8 adjusted, of course, for any injuries, subs, all that sort of stuff. And then in 2023, 102.4. So has done it before. Those two seasons as well have been the seasons where he has been allowed to play more as an attacking defender, pushing up the ground, much like McKercher, who I just spoke about, and really be allowed to use his fancy footwork, precise kicking, everything else. So he's a nice little attacking defender. And I think off the back of that, provided he is fit, has a full preseason, knock on wood, he currently is. He is, I think, extreme value. But very surprising, he's almost priced as much as McKercher. There you go. Now moving on to D5, and another guy who we've had in our teams, I think, for the past 2 years running, but has had his seasons ruined by injury. Let's just type his name in just to save on time. It is Kitty Coleman, 233.8k. I think everyone will have him in their team, provided he is fit. Coming off that ACL, I think it was 2 years ago, he's had bouts of hamstring injuries. He's had recurring issues with that knee. So it is a big, big watch here. But provided that he is fit, I think back to that grand final that he had against Collingwood, and he tore that game to shreds. He is someone that can find the footy and use it very, very, very well. Scored that 127 in the grand final against the Pies. Prior to that, in the prelim against Carlton, 127. An ability really to push up the ground without, the likes of, there's Zorko still there in defence, but there are guys that have made way. And I think there is definitely a role there for him to play. Zorko, I think he's probably going into his maybe last year at senior level before he is put out to pasture and retires. So I think that the baton will be passed to Kitty Coleman this season for him to really take the next step up. But let's just hope, fingers crossed, that he is fit to run out the season. And to round things out, the last spot on field at the moment is a rookie, and I always go down this route strategically the way that I structure my team, and it is in the form of, at this stage, Zeke Hewland, a very high draft pick for the Gold Coast Suns. 199k on the dot, mid defender as well, very, very handy DPP, and I expect him to get games. Really highly touted, played well in the Coates League under-18 champs, so he is someone I am keeping a very, very close eye on. In terms of the bench, we're going to be going with Josh Gipkus at the moment, bit of a placeholder, 139.6, coming off, I think it was that ACL that he did when he actually did it against Carlton from memory, very early on. Jumped in the air, landed, and did his ACL, but by all reports is fighting fit, and fingers crossed for him that does continue. And then alongside him is a guy that was traded from the Hawks to the Swans in Jai Sarong. I expect him to play games. They obviously identified him as someone to trade for the Swans, and yeah, I expect him to be playing from the get-go. And I don't know if he's going to be a massive scorer. Let's just have a quick look historically, but I think at that price point, you just need someone playing. You need a really nice cash cow off the bench, and that I think he will be. He averaged in 2024 a 52.3, and then in 2023 a 67. So, yep, I think he selects himself at this stage, but of course, pending selection in opening round. Let's move on to the midfield now, and no real surprise here, I think. You either go for Bont or you go for Butters. I think for me, Bont is a little bit slightly overpriced. Mind you, of course, he was the top scoring player in Supercoach, 130.6. So you pay for what you get. You pay for quality. But I think for me, in terms of the way I'm structuring and spreading out the money, the 50k or 52k that I am saving with Butters compared to Bont is very, very valuable. So I think for me, that is the route that I'm going to go, is go for Zachary Butters. Had a injury interrupted start to 2025, but gee whiz, when he found his form, he got going and did it very, very well, averaging a 121 for the season from 20 games. Now, alongside him in M2, moving on very quickly, is, scrolling down the list, Nick Dacos. I think he's slightly underpriced, only a little bit, 116.1, but I can see him elevating his game, taking it to the next level, and being a very nice selection from the get-go. There are other guys around his price point that I am looking very closely at as well. Dunkley potentially, Noah Anderson, even a Brayshaw, Finn Callahan potentially. So there are a number of guys here that you could opt for. Zach Merritt, who I think is underpriced. Harry Sheasel, who I think by and large should be selected in the forward line if you're going for him. But I think for me at this stage, I will be going with Nick Dacos. In M3 at the moment is a bit of a smoky, and you're probably saying, oh, it's Carlton bias, and it may be. Now, Sammy Walsh, I am a big, big fan of him. He is one of my favourite players to don the navy blue at the moment. But what I am seeing in the preseason, this is navy blue glasses off. I'm seeing a Sam Walsh, the same player, in the same sort of form that tore the finals to shreds in 2023. This is a guy that is going to, provided he is fit, knock on wood, cross our fingers, all that sort of stuff, he is going to reclaim that form that he had in 2023 in the final series that earned him the best player across the final series, the medal, whatever it was called. I think it's Gary Ayres. He, for me, is going to be a very, very big smoky and a value selection for me. I've been down to open training a couple of times at Carlton, and I will be going down there again on this coming Friday as I record this video. He has been a standout across all the training sessions that I've been to. If you want a good look at him, check out my alternate channel, Blue Baggers Edge, and you will see the training video that I captured myself on my own video camera, and he looks incredible. The way he is moving with just supreme ease. He is shrugging off opponents. He's put on bulk as well, so he's got a bit of extra strength. He's weaving, he's spinning around opponents, he's weaving through traffic. I've never seen him play with such confidence, but also be this fit. So I'm very, 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 very confident in my boy, Sammy Walsh, and I'm standing by that. Previous seasons, I have not been willing to touch him due to the fact that he has been coming back from injury and he's been suffering some ailments across the preseason. But if this is his full preseason for the first time, I think in around about 4 or 5 years, gee whiz, watch out. That's all I'll say. Now, alongside him in M4 is another value selection here, and it's kind of the name of the game at this point. And no surprise, I think everyone will be jumping on him at this price point. 389k. It is Hayden Young. Coming back from injury, the only issue is that, yes, his durability is very questionable. Hey, you could say the same thing about Walshy, but provided that he is fit, I think he's going to be extreme value at that price point and very, very, virtually undeniable to not have him in your team. Now, in M5, it is in the form of Harley Reid, 381.7k. I just think this bloke coming into his third season now, he's going to step up his game. We've seen it with Tom Green. We've seen it with, Finn Callahan, guys that have gone into their third, fourth season. They've really taken the next step. And I do anticipate Harley Reid with another year of not just experience, but also, I think, maturity, which is a big thing with him. I can see him taking his game to the next level and being an absolute breakout contender. Not really a big call, of course, because of the wraps on him, but he is going to explode, and I think this will be the year. Alongside him is another value selection, albeit, of course, due to injuries. And this guy, out of all the injured players that we've spoken about in Hayden Young, Walshy, even Kitty Coleman, I'm not really confident on Treloar, I must be said. He's had soft tissue injuries across the journey, hamstrings, calves, everything else. And I want to see this bloke have a full preseason before I even consider going for him. But we all know what he can produce. Average is 72, injury impacted, of course. Only played the 4 matches in 2025, but a dual position player, which I think adds that extra layer of, pick me type label to him. So mid forward, don't mind Adam Treloar, provided, of course, he is fit. In the last 2 positions in the midfield, of course, rookies, which is normally the strategy that we go with. First and foremost, we have Dyson Sharp, priced at 149.5k. I think of all the guys that were drafted early days in the national draft just gone, he's probably one of the more mature players. He averaged, I think it was 155 in a SuperCoach points in the under 18s. Contested player, can really run all day and just really has a really nice, conducive SuperCoach game to him. So I'm a big fan of Sharp and can see him playing from round 1 for Essendon. They've cleared out their engine room. They've got rid of the slow guys and Hobbs and whatnot. I think going for him, I think fills a need for the Dons, and I'm very, very keen to see what he can produce at senior level. Now, no real surprise here. My other favourite player alongside Sammy Walsh is Jagger Smith, 119.9k. I think he's going to romp in, provided that he is fit, knock on wood. Jagger Smith going to romp in the Rising Star, but maybe Dyson Sharp, the man I just spoke about, might give him a run for his money. But this guy, again, guy that I've seen at training with my own eyes. Again, check out the video on my Blue Baggers Edge channel. I might put the link down below in the YouTube description for easy access. But he has been a standout. So check out the vision that I captured of him. But he's looking very, very good. And I think this guy, precise kicking, speedy, his agility, his ability just to spin out of traffic and out of dangerous situations. Geez, I haven't seen anything like it in a Carlton team like this in a long, long while. So I'm very, very excited. Now on the bench, we have Will Brodie, who's playing. Again, he's been the journeyman. Gold Coast, Freo, now Port. You would think that, considering that they targeted him in the trade period, that they will give him an opportunity. So he is on the bench, 119.9k, virtually bottom priced. Smiley of the Josh variety from Richmond, 119.9k again. I think he will get opportunity. Battled through injury in 2025. Didn't really get a chance at all due to it, but I can see him be a very nice scorer, especially with a couple of preseasons under his belt, albeit, of course, injury impacted. And then to round things out on the bench, we have Finlay Macrae. Yes, a common name that we all know about. Former Pie, now at West Coast. Mid-forward as well. DPP, very, very handy. 119.9k. In West Coast side, I could see him getting an opportunity. As to whether or not he performs, we'll just have to wait and see. But, there were, I guess, glimmers of what could be in limited opportunity at the Pies. So I don't mind taking a punt on him. Moving on to the rucks now, and I think it comes down to either going for Max Gawn or Tristan Cherry. Do we go for Max Gawn, the old man, who still continues topping the average, 127.4 in 2025, or do we go with the next tier, the next generation in Tristan Cherry, 127 on the dot average? I've gone for Tristan Cherry at the moment, but that can easily change. There are other guys that I am looking at as well in terms of outside of Gawn. There's Grundy, there's Luke Jackson, Darcy Cameron. Tim English is the other guy that I've locked in at the moment as well, 600.9k. Now, the big thing we need to really be looking into, and something that we will be discussing in our episode on the rucks, is concerning, of course, the change in rules with regards to a lower number of stoppages due to the out of bounds rule. Now, there has been some research done by Jaden Popowski and his offsider as well, whose name escapes me, so apologies, but I will be using it in the episode where we will be delving a deep dive into the stats and looking at the players that benefit most from stoppages and perhaps don't score as many points around the ground. And then conversely, looking at the players that score a lot of their points around the ground and aren't so reliant upon stoppages. And those are the players that we want to be looking at because I can see high-priced guys like Tristan Cherry, who, from memory, he gets a lot of his points around stoppage due to tackles, clearances, everything else. And I can see the lower number of stoppages impacting him. So that's the reason why he's got a little bit of an asterisk for me in my team, but he is there at the moment. But we'll chat about that more in the Ruck episode later on when that is released. So again, hit the notification bell and subscribe to be notified of when that does drop. On the bench, we have just a placeholder at the moment. I think a non-playing player. Bottom price, 99.1k, Kalani White, Jeff White's son from Melbourne, ruck forward, and he'll be our loophole potentially at this stage. So he is there for now. Moving on to the forward line, and we have, first and foremost, the highest priced player of the forwards, 580.4k. It is Harry Sheezel. Getting more time in the midfield now at the moment as well. And I am bullish on him still. I mean, he's virtually on par with being the best player, I think, for North alongside LDU. Probably eclipsed him as well. He averaged 107.3 in 2025, down from the 118 in his second year in 2024. But his CBAs, I think he had more CBAs, 38% in 2025 compared to 31% in 2024. And there was his scoring was up and down. It will be said, but I think the year that he kind of had that elevated time in the CBAs in the engine room just has that time to adjust to things. He's not being that distributor off halfback as much, so I can see him being someone that takes his game to the next level still. But I mean, you could potentially look elsewhere. That being said, there's Isaac Rankin, of course. I would have said Nick Martin, of course, but he is out for the year, unfortunately. There's Christian Petrarca, but I am worried that he will play more of that high half-forward role that he has been playing at Melbourne, but now at Gold Coast. If he plays predominantly midfield, gets bulk CBAs, I think I would happily put Track in at F1, but at this stage, I think I'll probably just steer clear for now. But I think of all those guys, maybe Rankin's the only other player that I would consider selecting ahead of Harry Sheezel. But at this stage, I think he will be finishing in our top 6 forward spot. That is for sure. So why not just start with him? In F2, we are going with a bit of value here in Sam Draper, ruck forward. Former Don, now at Brisbane, 396.6k. And I think a lot of people forget, I mean, he was out for, virtually the year at the Dons. They forget what impact he had in Supercoach terms. He played a few games, 91.6 for 2025 was his average. In fact, he played 5 games. And yeah, I mean, prior to that, he's averaged 75.9, 75.6. And I think at that price point that he is at, he is value. I can really see him as well getting back to the height or elevating his game now to be, 85, 90 plus. Easily, with McInerney being retired now at Brisbane. I can see him being that R1 outright and pushing forward. I think at the Dons, what limited his scoring output was the fact that he was played and kind of balanced between being a forward and also a ruck. Whereas now, I think his CBAs and ruck attendances will be going through the roof. If you have a look at his previous ruck contest percentages, he's had 54%, 52%, 61, 66, 71, and 74. So he's actually decreased across the journey in his time at Essendon. So he is in my team, and I think great value there. Of course, durability is a big one and something to keep an eye on, but I think at that price point, you can't go too wrong. Another guy who is at a different team in different colours, Sam Flanders, 396.6k. I'm a big fan of this bloke. I was hoping quietly that Carlton might perhaps trade for him, but they didn't have the capital to go for him. And of course, he settled on the Saints, splashed the cash, they got him, and he is a forward only. But I do anticipate that he will be predominantly a midfielder at the Saints. Just having a look at his breakdown as well. Again, we'll be going through these guys and their breakdowns intricately in greater detail when we chat about them line by line and team by team. But if you have a look at his season in 2024, 119 he averaged, and that was with 31% CBAs. I can see him actually having more CBAs than that at the Saints. And even prior to that, I mean, 2023, 93.2 was when he started to get more CBAs. But last year, it was an anomaly. He was playing more as a high half forward, getting virtually no run through the middle. And that impacted his score, obviously. So don't be too put off by last year's performance, because all you need to look at is 2024 and how he performs when he gets bogged CBAs. He went on a run of 2024, he went on a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 games in a row that he tonned up. And some big scores amongst that as well. 124, 125, 128, 152, 128, and a 141. So I think just get on him. Don't try and be cute. That price point as well, that's just a lock and load, 100%. Alongside him, another St Kilda player, and again, durability needs to be, watched. Mateus Philippou, 168.4k. Now, he was having a bit of a breakout in 2024 when he was getting some CBAs late in the piece. 2025, he didn't get too many CBAs, but again, injury impacted, all that sort of stuff. But I can see him, provided he is fighting fit, getting those CBAs through the middle and being a very nice cash cow. I mean, I can't believe you can get him at 168.4k, so a very, very nice get. Again, we're hunting for value here. Have to do it. 147.9k. Todd Marshall is my F5. 147.9. And I mean, coming off I think it's Achilles injury, a very, very big one. But Todd Marshall is great value. All you need to look at is, again, key position player, but we're going for someone here that is going to make us money. They're not going to be a keeper. So you can break the rule here, or the rule that I normally have of not going for key position players. Previously, he's averaged 2024, 59.7, 71.5 in 2023, 77.2 in 2022, 67.4 in 2021, and 2020, 64.1. So he will be making us money, provided he is fit. A really, really good key position forward for Port. And lock and load, 100%. And then we have Sid Draper. Now, this poor bloke, mid-forward, so from the get-go, a very, very handy DPP. 126.1k. Played the 10 games, and I think every single one of those, he was the sub, believe it or not. So the poor bloke. But I can see him now without Matt Crouch being there, retired. There is an opening for him to get his game time up. And again, remember, the sub is now dead, thankfully. So it means that he, if he is selected, will be playing time through the middle. Might potentially be, used between half forward and, spatterings through the middle, CBAs to build up his tank, which might be a bit of a question on him. But I think he is someone that really will be an incredible addition to Adelaide's team. Can tackle, loves a good tackle, loves a cuddle, can really be impactful with his agility, his kicking as well. So I am a big fan of him. Moving to the bench now, and we have, for me at this stage anyway, just placeholders. Leo Lombard from Gold Coast, forward only. Does he play early? We'll just have to wait and see. And then Dev Robertson finally made his way to West Coast. Probably should have requested a trade there 2 years ago when he had the chance. 119.9k. I can see him getting a crack at West Coast. Can find the footy, no issue about that. But his disposal can be hit and miss. But at that price point, I think he will make us nice dollary dues. And then to round things out, we have in our flex at this stage, bit of a controversial one. And again, maybe it's the navy blue glasses talking. Liam Reedy from Carlton as a ruck forward. Again, DPP, very, very handy. But I can see this bloke. From what I've seen, again, go and check out my vision that I captured. Blue Baggers Edge YouTube channel. Check it out. This bloke is an absolute beast. 200 plus centimeters. He is just a mountain of muscle and loves to tackle. And for me, Pitnet, he's copped a bit of an injury. I think it was a larynx injury over the preseason. I can see Reedy playing in the same team as Pitnet potentially, but for me, I can see him being the starting ruck for Carlton against Sydney in opening round. So wait and see with that. But I think at that price point, if he's not even the starting ruck, I think he's worth having on the bench in your ruck 3 position because he will get a crack at some stage. If not an opening round, he will get it early on. This bloke is impressing. So keep an eye on him. But for me, he is in my flex. That's my team. That is how it looks. No real, I think, apart from potentially maybe Sammy Walsh. Who else is there? Liam Reedy, like the 2 Carlton players that people may not have in their team. But outside of that, the standard guys, Butters, Dacos, Wanganeen Miller, Rosie, McKercher, there are guys there that's a great value for their price point and versus their role. And those guys as well going to a new team like Flanders, that you really have to keep an eye on as well, that will get an uptick in opportunity, but also the role that we have seen them score well in the past. So, yep, just keep that in mind. But that is it, ladies and gents. We might leave things there. As always, if you have any comments, questions, anything else, let us know in the comment section down below if you are tuning in to us via YouTube. And again, we are always happy to help. And you can hit us up as well on Twitter, which is at @supercoach_edge. Don't forget to give us a follow. And you can find myself on my personal account at DamoJ88. But let us know your thoughts as well with regards to my team. What do you think? Are there guys that perhaps taking too much of a risk on? Are there guys that you have in your team that I don't have in mind? Let me know. Always keen for a bit of discourse, a bit of back and forth discussion, especially on YouTube in the comments section. So get to that. And with that, ladies and gents, a bit of, again, reminder that we will be rolling out our AFL content very, very soon en masse. We will be going through team by team. We'll be going line by line in terms of mid-prices, primos, and rookies, and maybe a bit of a feature piece on certain players as well, just to sort of deep dive into particular players due to the fact that they are value or maybe are ones to avoid and might be traps. So again, look out for that. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be abreast of all of that and hit the notification bell as well to be notified of when that content does drop. And if you are tuning into the audio podcast side of things, thank you as well. Don't forget, you can hit follow as well on Spotify and Apple Pods. Give us a 5-star review if you enjoy our content. And as well, feel free to give us a review if you have some extra time up your sleeve. But that's it, ladies and gents. Thanks as always for tuning in. We will be back as well. As I said, again, we have so much content to roll out, so keep an eye out for that. But until then, we'll catch you in the next one.